I am actually opening up our literal real-life group chat today on just Johnny and Sophie
Oh
because,
no, I knew this day would come.
I mean, we have to. If you look closely at the, chaotic, totally mundane messages we send each other every single day, you don't just see a timeline of what we did.
Right, you see the raw code of human psychology.
Exactly. So we are going to read the most baffling exchanges from our chat affectionately named The Gang from this past week out loud, right here.
How incriminating is the vault we're opening? Like, are we going to lose friends over this?
Well, it starts with Marcus sending something just completely unhinged at 2:17 in the morning.
Oh, standard Marcus.
Right. And it basically peaks with Dan deploying a message that essentially weaponized human curiosity.
Okay, we absolutely need to unpack this, but we should probably set the scene here first for anyone listening.
Yeah, definitely.
Because this isn't just us, gossiping about our week. A long-running group chat is essentially a real-time anthropological study.
It really is.
It is this fascinating digital terrarium, you know? You have these drastically different personalities that are forced to collide, compromise, and coexist entirely in text form. And, listening to this right now, you definitely have a chat exactly like this.
100%.
So as we introduce the main characters of our shared digital space, that's Marcus, Lily, Dan, and Maya, I want you to really think about which of your own friends perfectly matches these exact psychological archetypes.
They will definitely recognize these people immediately. I mean, we all have a Maya.
We really do.
I think the best place to start, though, is by looking at what happens when the digital guardrails come down. You know, those very vulnerable, totally dark hours of the early morning.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I'm pulling up the timeline of Marcus's Monday crisis right now.
The midnight descent into madness. Let's hear the raw data.
Okay, so at exactly 2:17 a.m., Marcus sends a single message. It just says, okay, so I've been thinking.
And then, let me guess, absolute silence.
Absolute silence. Just that one ominous message sitting there in the dark.
Classic.
Then 6 minutes later, at 2:23 a.m., he sends... Anyway. Just anyway. Then at 2:31 a.m. No, but seriously.
Oh, he's spiraling.
At 2:45 a.m. Okay, never mind. And finally, culminating at 2:46 a.m. with, actually, wait.
And then what? What was the revelation?
Nothing. Absolute silence for the rest of the entire night. Until 9:04 a.m. when Dan simply replies with a lowercase.
Okay.
That sequence is... it's a masterpiece of unintentional comedy.
It really is.
But look at the behavioral mechanics of what just happened there. Over the course of 3 minutes, Marcus goes through an entire agonizing emotional arc.
All by himself.
Right. It's this absolute roller coaster of sudden realization, crippling doubt, forced dismissal, and then a shocking epiphany, all entirely by himself into a total void.
Yeah.
What's brilliant is the group's implicit social contract to just, let that mystery thought remain unknown.
Nobody wants to touch that.
Exactly. No one jumps in at 3 a.m. to ask, wait, what are you thinking?
Dang.
No, we've all just accepted that Marcus operates on a completely different frequency.
He really does.
But the absolute funniest part to me is the phrase, actually wait, at 2:46. Because, okay, never mind. Clearly meant his brain had finally powered down, right? He was going to sleep. But actually wait means the thought literally physically jolted him awake again.
Yeah, his eyes just snapped open in the dark.
Exactly. But, instead of viewing Marcus like a pinball just randomly bouncing off the bumpers in the middle of the night, I think there's a better way to look at it.
Okay, what's your theory?
It feels more like Marcus is a microphone getting way too close to his speaker.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
He's caught in a feedback loop of his own late-night anxiety, picking up his own nervous energy, amplifying it, and broadcasting it back out to the group.
Yes, that is exactly what that is. It's a closed acoustic loop of overthinking.
Right. And then you have Dan's response the next morning.
The flipper that just lets the ball drop.
Yes. Dan doesn't try to decipher the feedback loop. He doesn't ask what Marcus was thinking about. He just walks over and unplugs the amplifier.
He waits until 9 a.m.?
9:04. You can practically picture him sitting at his kitchen island, holding his morning coffee, reading this frantic midnight spiral, and his measured, perfectly punctuated response is just a lowercase, okay.
It's beautiful.
It completely neutralizes the energy. So I have to ask you, is the most effective way to handle a 2 a.m. overthinker really just refusing to engage, like just letting them tire themselves out without intervening.
I mean, in that
Yeah.
specific scenario, yes, absolutely. Dan's absolute minimalism worked perfectly there.
Because it doesn't add fuel to the fire.
Exactly. If you engage with that feedback loop, you validate the anxiety,
Yeah.
you inject fresh energy into a system that desperately needs to power down.
Right.
So by saying, okay, Dan acknowledges Marcus's existence without actually feeding the spiral.
That makes a lot of sense.
But here's where it gets kind of complicated. Total minimalism is a great defense mechanism against late-night anxiety. But how does the group handle the exact opposite behavior?
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
Like, what happens when someone isn't spiraling, but rather actively demanding a captive audience?
You are definitely talking about Lily.
I am absolutely talking about Lily's Tuesday morning broadcast.
Okay, so on Tuesday at 8:45 in the morning, by the way, Lily sends a completely unprompted, highly detailed review of a restaurant.
At breakfast time.
Yes.
Yep.
She went completely alone for our Monday lunch. Literally nobody asked for this review. We didn't even know she went.
No clue.
But she sends it anyway, and it is structured with these rigid mathematical categories.
The categories are what elevate it from a regular text to a full manifesto.
Okay, listen to this. Food quality, 8.5. Service.9. Ambiance.7.
The ambiance score is crucial.
Followed by the hilariously specific critique. The lighting could be warmer.
Like she's a Michelin inspector.
Right. Value for money, 8 overall, 8.2.
I mean, who calculates an overall weighted score of 8.2 for a solo Tuesday lunch and drops it into a casual chat?
Lily does. And she notes she would return, but would explicitly book a corner table in advance next time.
Just for future reference.
Yeah.
For all of us.
But, okay, I'm going to defend her here.
Oh, really?
Yes, because honestly, her unsolicited 8.2 review is actually way more trustworthy than anything you'll find on Google.
Okay, fair.
And to me, Lily is basically writing a very sophisticated diary entry, but she needs the validation of a captive audience. When she broadcasts that lunch, she's giving us a complete closed narrative loop.
Mm-hmm.
We don't actually have to reply to it. In fact, Dan read Lily's review and said absolutely nothing, which in this case is actually the correct response.
That's a really great point. She is documenting her reality. She's validating her own lived experience simply by forcing us to witness it.
Exactly.
She is treating the shared digital space like her own personal Yelp page, but it's totally harmless because it doesn't demand cognitive labor from the rest of us.
All right, there's no question to answer.
But contrast that closed loop with what Dan did later that exact same day.
Oh my gosh, Dan's message was just weaponized ambiguity.
It was evil.
So, Tuesday at 11:23 a.m., Dan sends 5 words. Did anyone else see that?
No capitalization.
No question mark, no context, no link, no photo, just a vague statement floating in the ether.
And how did the ecosystem react to that?
With immediate panicked chaos, I replied, "See what?" Lily, applying her usual customer service level of formality, replied, "What are we referring to?"
Very Lily.
Maya, in typical dramatic Maya fashion, sent in all caps, "Dan what?"
She was stressed.
But the best reaction without a doubt is Marcus. Marcus just replies, "Yes."
He just blindly agreed to an entirely unknown premise.
Yes. 3 days later, he admitted he didn't actually see anything. He just felt the social pressure to be involved.
That is incredible.
And as for Dan, when we practically begged him to explain what he meant, he eventually just said, "Never mind."
Oh, that's infuriating. We will literally never know what Dan saw. He dropped a bomb and just walked away. So I have to ask you, why do we feel compelled to broadcast mundane life updates to a captive audience like Lily did? And conversely, why is Dan's vague bait so infuriatingly effective at capturing our attention?
Okay, so psychologically, what Dan did is actually infuriating, but it's highly effective. It taps directly into something called the Zeigarnik effect.
The one effect.
The Zeigarnik effect. Back in the 1920s, this psychologist named Bluma Zeigarnik noticed that waiters could remember incredibly complex orders perfectly right up until the bill was paid.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, the moment the transaction was complete, they forgot everything. The human brain is hardwired to remember and fixate on incomplete tasks or open loops.
Okay, so Lily's restaurant review is a paid bill.
Exactly.
Our brains can process it and immediately let it go.
Yes. But Dan's, did anyone else see that, is an unpaid tab. It's a puzzle missing its centerpiece. The brain physically cannot stand the lack of resolution.
It literally hurts. It creates actual cognitive itch, which is why Maya practically short-circuited trying to figure out what he meant.
Well, speaking of open loops that short-circuit the brain, we have to look at how Maya communicates.
Oh, absolutely.
Because if Dan is the master of the single, vague, open loop, Maya is the architect of the digital meltdown.
The Wednesday incident. Please read the transcript for the record.
Okay, Maya sends 14 separate messages over the span of 6 minutes.
14.
It is a masterclass in fragmentation. Here we go. Message 1. Okay, so. Message 2, you know that thing that happened. Message 3, with the person. Message 4, at work.
I'm stressed just hearing it.
Message 5.
Right.
Okay, so basically, message 6, I cannot believe this. Message 7, like genuinely cannot.
Still zero context.
None. Message 8. Okay, so what happened was message 9. Actually, let me start from the beginning.
Oh,
Message 10. So there's this person, right? Message 11. And they did something. Message 12. And message 13. I don't even know how to explain it.
the suspense is terrible.
And then after a full 2-minute pause, message 14. Anyway, it's fine now.
And to this day, we have absolutely zero clue who the person was, what they did, or why it's fine now.
None. We never found out. But if you look at the Peanut Gallery's reactions, it tells you everything you need to know about the roles we play.
Break it down.
Dan, predictably, left all 14 messages on read. Utter silence.
Of course.
Lily offered a very polite, incredibly formal, that sounds difficult.
So supportive, so detached.
And Marcus individually thumbs upped every single one of the 14 messages.
Which is a staggering amount of digital labor, just tapping the screen 14 times.
It really is.
But what was your reaction?
Oh, I called her immediately. Because 14 fragmented messages ending in "it's fine" usually means the situation is critically not fine.
Right, it's code for an emergency.
I assumed it was a massive cry for help, but when she picked up, she was totally calm. She was literally just making a sandwich.
Just hanging out.
Yeah. And it made me realize something about the neuroscience of texting. Maya's 14 messages aren't just her being dramatic.
What are they?
Well, by externalizing those frantic, half-formed thoughts into a physical space, even a digital one, she's literally tricking her brain into down-regulating her amygdala.
Oh, that's a fascinating way to frame it. You're saying the group chat acts as an external processor for her emotional regulation.
Exactly. It's a highly efficient emotional pressure valve. It's the digital equivalent of taking a deep breath. By labeling the emotion, even vaguely with "I cannot believe this," she's moving the brain's activity from the emotional panic center to the logical prefrontal cortex.
Right, she's processing out loud.
Which brings me back to Marcus.
The thumbs up guy.
Yeah. Isn't Marcus's strategy of giving 14 individual thumbs ups actually a brilliant modern form of active listening?
You think so?
I mean, he's sitting there validating her real-time emotional processing step by step.
Okay, I'm going to push back on that a little
There you
bit.
go.
Is it truly empathetic active listening? Or is Marcus just deploying the digital equivalent of smiling and nodding while slowly backing out of the room so he doesn't get yelled at?
Okay, you know what? That is entirely fair. It's definitely self-preservation.
It is. He's just trying to survive the barrage. But it highlights a crucial truth about these ecosystems.
Which is?
Sometimes the chat isn't about solving problems or transferring clear information. Sometimes it's just about documenting pure, mundane existence.
Yeah.
It's a digital heartbeat that basically says, I am here, I am frustrated, now I am fine.
Right.
Which, frankly, bridges perfectly to your own bizarre contribution to the chat this week, or rather, my contribution that you zeroed in on.
I knew we were going to end up talking about Thursday.
We have to. Because if Maya documents her emotional state, I document my physical inertia.
You really do.
On Thursday, I sent a photo of my gym bag. It is just sitting there in the passenger seat of my car, exactly where it had been for 3 days.
Untouched.
Completely untouched. And my caption was simply 2 words, still here.
And the reactions were spectacular. Marcus immediately teases you with, "next month for sure," which, for the record, is the 5th time he's deployed that exact joke.
It never gets old for him.
Lily offers incredibly practical, entirely useless advice. Have you considered taking it inside?
Thank you, Lily. Very helpful.
Dan just replies with a single thumbs up emoji. And Maya Pure, unadulterated Maya, sends in all caps, "I believe in you."
I will fiercely defend my gym bag photo.
Oh, please do.
Because in the psychology of habit formation, documenting the failure to execute a habit is actually an important step in eventually completing it.
Is it, though?
It is. I am holding myself accountable to the group. And honestly, Dan's single thumbs up, I chose to interpret that as profound stoic encouragement.
Right. Well, that gym bag is practically a dependent on your Paxes at this point.
It's a mascot.
It's a permanent member of the chat. But, okay, while your gym bag was a study in inertia, Friday was the ultimate test of the group's ability to actually take action.
The weekend collision.
Right. On a Friday afternoon, I threw the ultimate grenade into the ecosystem.
The dangerous game.
I asked the most dangerous question you can ask a group of adults in their 30s. What are we doing this
And
weekend?
the sheer friction that question generates is incredible.
It is instant blinding chaos. Marcus immediately replies with a manic 3-paragraph itinerary.
Naturally.
He has scoped out 3 different locations, coordinated highly specific arrival times, built in a backup option in case it rains, and formulated a backup for the backup option.
It was a logistical masterpiece. He essentially drafted a NATO operational plan for a Saturday afternoon.
Yes. But then Dan enters the chat.
Dan simply replies, can't.
0 explanation, just can't.
We didn't even ask why.
No. We have fully given up asking Dan for context. Lily then chimes in, stating she needs at least 48 hours notice to consult her spreadsheet and adjust her meal prep schedule.
Standard protocol for Lily.
And Maya, bless her, just blindly agrees to everything. She types, yes to everything, tell me where and when. She definitely didn't read a single word of Marcus's itinerary.
So after all of that digital friction, what was the final real-world resolution?
We completely ignored Marcus's 3-paragraph plan.
Of course we did.
We went to a totally random, deeply average coffee place 2 streets away, and we just sat there for 3 hours doing absolutely nothing.
It was great.
It was. And the most beautifully absurd part, Marcus retroactively edited his master plan, claiming the coffee shop was his primary objective all along.
That is peak Marcus. But look at the sociological mechanism happening here. You have Lily, a literal spreadsheet checker. You have Marcus, a hyper planner capable of complex logistics. Yet the group's default state always regresses to doing essentially nothing. Why?
I think it's decision fatigue. You know, despite having all these planners, coordinating 3 backup plans via text isn't fun. The brain processes it as actual cognitive labor.
It's work.
It's literally work. By the time we negotiate the times, the locations, and the parking situations on our screens, we have entirely drained the exact dopamine reserves we need to actually enjoy a social outing.
That makes total sense.
Doesn't it? Does the friction of planning in a group chat actually make us crave the simplest, most unplanned human interactions?
I agree completely. The cognitive load of the group chat basically burns out the desire for complex real-world logistics.
Yeah.
To survive an ecosystem like this without burning out, you realize that the literal words on the screen are entirely secondary. You have to intuitively understand the unwritten rules and the secret syntax of modern texting.
Which is exactly what I want to dive into next.
Okay, let's do it.
Because if you zoom out and read the transcript of our chat this week as a single document, there are very specific linguistic quirks.
There really are.
There are 3 key phrases we use that seem to completely dictate the flow of modern digital communication.
Let's decode the syntax. What's the first one?
Number 1 is the phrase, okay, sir. Maya used this to kick off her 14-message emotional spiral. I use it constantly. If you actually look at the words okay, has absolutely 0 literal meaning.
Nothing is okay and nothing is so.
Exactly. It is purely a digital warning flare.
It's the textual equivalent of clearing your throat at a dinner party and tapping a glass with a spoon. It demands the floor.
Yes. It means, brace yourselves, a narrative is incoming, or I am aggressively pivoting the subject.
Totally.
Then you have phrase number 2. Anyway.
The classic.
Marcus used this during his 2 a.m. crisis to try and transition away from his mystery thought. Maya used it to abruptly terminate her rant with, anyway, it's fine now.
Anyway is structurally fascinating. It has really become the universal emergency exit of the English language.
It has.
You could use it to eject from literally any conversational altitude. If you run out of things to say, anyway. If you make things profoundly awkward, anyway. It's a ripcord you pull when the cognitive load of the current topic just gets way too heavy.
And then there's the third one, which I think has undergone the most radical linguistic evolution in our lifetime.
What's that?
LOL.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
We really need to establish what LOL actually means today, because it absolutely, definitively does not mean laughing out loud.
No. If a modern adult types LOL, I can guarantee you with absolute certainty that their face is entirely blank.
Completely stone-faced.
Yeah.
It has morphed from an acronym into a sophisticated awkwardness softener.
Yes.
It's a sign of mild, detached amusement, or even a shield. Like if someone texts, I'm so incredibly burnt out right now, lol, they aren't laughing.
Not at all.
The LOL is just a buffer so the sentence doesn't seem too alarmist or depressing to the recipient. If someone is actually physically laughing, they will type ha 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 or use the skull emoji.
The LOL has essentially become punctuation.
Mm-hmm.
It is a tonal marker. It's a grammatical tag that essentially instructs the reader, please do not take the preceding statement with full gravity.
Which leads me to this question for you. Has text-speak completely replaced our physical body language?
Oh, that's a big question.
Because we are restricted to these flat, glowing screens, we've had to invent an entirely new syntax of micro-expressions.
Right.
Typing, okay, so, is the digital equivalent of physically